Welcome to Election Watch 2015. I'm your host, Teresa Wippel. In the studio, we have Laura Sonmore, who is running for Mountlake Terrace City Council Position 6. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
So you're running for re-election, and it would be wonderful for you to talk about your background, how long you've lived in Mountlake Terrace, and why you're seeking the position again.
I'm very privileged. I actually was raised in Mountlake Terrace. So I come from, I call it a small hometown in Mountlake Terrace. So that's something that I'm very proud of. And I've been on council since the end of 2000, actually end of 2000. So going on almost 16 years now. So that's about it.
That's great. And you said you worked at Boeing, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I do work at
What do you
Boeing.
do for them?
I'm in training at Boeing.
Okay, wonderful. So one of the questions that seems to come up with some regularity is the status of the City Hall. The fact that right now the city is renting space in the Redstone building, and it has been thinking about what to do with possibly building a new City Hall. The voters have rejected some past initiatives to replace, build a new building. Do you, at this point, do you think that the city needs to move forward with that building project again, or should they continue to rent?
That's the million-dollar question here. So we have gone out to the voters twice. The major issue with having an interim city hall is, first, we don't own it, and so we rent. We do have available property that our old city hall was on that we own, so there's owning and renting. There's also looking at the price tag. Everything's so expensive to build a building. But the one thing I do know for sure is we can't afford to stay in our rented building. And I'm pretty sure that everybody is on the same page with that. It's very costly. It's about $500,000 a year. And so we're really looking at funding. We've looked at Bothell. They're about to open their new city hall. We've gone to a lot of different city halls and really looking at what we need. We thought we had a good plan in place when we went out to the voters, but now we're reeling it all back in and looking at what do we have to have. Now we have our senior center at our Ballinger Playhouse or Clubhouse, excuse me. And so we don't need room for that right now, and we're very happy having the seniors having a place that is somewhere that they can call home. We really wanted to have rooms for, Cub Scouts, Girl Scouts, specialized events come in, and we're really looking, do we have to have that? So I'm the one on the council wanting the lowest price tag of them all. What can we get for 15? What can we get for 20 million? I don't want it to see it go up past $30 million. And it's not that I don't want all those amenities in the city. I do want those amenities in the city where we can host different events in the city at our city hall, but we have to pay for it. And we can look at private businesses coming in and helping us build it, but I'm really looking at what the taxpayers would have to pay. Nobody wants to pay extra taxes, and that's something with the city. We can't make money off of people. We have to take our facilities that we have, keep them in running order, which our old city hall fell apart at the seam. Actually, the roof fell in. So we tried our best to patch that, to do everything we could, but we couldn't do any more for that building, and so it was condemned. And so we had to take it down. So now we're looking at rebuilding something. And if we do, the next time we would go out to the voters, we'd have to submit for having it on the ballot next July. So that timing and project managing that out is coming up fast. So the alternative that we're looking at is putting a committee together, and we've had several committees do this over the years, but we're going to have another one come together, taking some of the yes people for City Hall, maybe some of the people who are saying no to City Hall, get them together in the room and see what the agreement can be. And that's what I really want to hear, is what they have to say, what their alternatives could be, and looking at the whole picture again. It sounds kind of redundant to do it again, but times have changed. The economy is going back up. We could have built it a few years ago for a lot less dollars, but now with the prices going up, we really have to look at what we can afford. I could go on with the subject all day because there's so many good things and so many things that people might oppose, and I'm trying to take what everybody wants for the city and looking ahead so in 50 years they don't have to rebuild again. But right now I have to look at what we have right now.
Right, right. And so at this point, the target would be going out to the vote in November of 2016.
Right.
Yeah.
But we have to prepare to get
Yeah.
it on the
Oh, yeah.
ballot, of course. And so
Yeah.
it's either that or really looking at a private sector coming in and building something that we would lease from them for so many years, and then eventually at the end of the lease that the city could own. But that's something that we have to look at again, and we don't have anybody in mind yet for that. So that's something that would have to go back out and be looked at a little bit further.
Okay, great. One thing that not only Mountlake Terrace is an option for them, but I know other cities have looked at it as well. What about the idea of forming a metropolitan park district to fund parks and recreation programs and a new recreation pavilion, which my understanding is that's ready for some renovations, isn't it?
Yes, and I remember swimming there as a kid,
Yeah.
and that's something that the Metropolitan Park is an option. It's a tool in our kit to look at how we could get funding in to fund that. One of the issues is how much could we tax somebody to build a facility like that? One of the first bids that we heard would be $30 million, and that's a huge price tag. Recently, some of the metropolitan parks levies have failed, and so we really have to look at that. One of the things we looked at years ago is doing away with our pool. It's not having a pool at all. No childcare, no swimming, no aerobics, none of those amenities that a city should have. So it's something that we've looked at the whole gamut, and the council agrees that we need to take that facility that we've had there since the early 60s and rebuild it. Whether it's putting a new shell on it, which right now it's not really feasible to do. We've rebuilt the liner in the pool several times. The electrical's bad in there, and so it's something that a metropolitan park is something that we could do, but if we're going to go out to the voters for a new city hall, you have to really weigh what a homeowner can actually pay. And so right now, I think the metropolitan parks would probably be on the back burner, and we're really focusing on City Hall. But with that said, we do want the pool there. We want those amenities. People come from all over to use our pool. We've won award after award. We have a daycare center there. We have after-school care. I go into the pool and I'll see seniors gathered in the front lobby, and it's their gathering place, and it's something that's what you want to see. You want to see your community come together in their own facility, and so hopefully someday we'll figure out how to rebuild that, and that's something else that the task force will be looking at.
Okay. A lot of change especially on the Main Street revitalization project, lots of new businesses moving into 56th and in the town center. But it seems like there's, with some rezoning and some other things that the council has done, that there's a lot of room for more businesses to come in. And is there some active effort right now being in place to get more businesses into town, and
That's a really
what
good
more could be
question.
done?
So downtown is something that I'd like to explain it. It's the one area in the city that we would like to build up. I know we have some people on the council would like to do more, some would like to do less, like me, and then we have some in the middle. So we're very well coordinated with our council at looking at what is coming into Mountlake Terrace. And so our Main Street is where we want our businesses to be, and we want to support all our businesses, but this is where we can gather them together in one location and build a plan to bring a really nice mix of businesses in. So businesses help support the tax base, and so we love our businesses because we want them to pay the lion's share of taxes. And so with looking at Main Street, we're looking at putting a blend and really marketing to certain restaurant owners. We're looking at, certain businesses coming in. So we have a plan together that we would like to really court, hospital businesses coming into our certain locations because the hospital's so close. We're trying to find our niche in the economy of what could be supported in the downtown. We do have a new senior center that went, or new senior housing that went in. We have more apartment buildings going in, more condos going in. So what do those people need? So we're looking at stores, businesses, dry cleaners, everything that they could walk to. But we're also looking at those bigger businesses that we want to come in, the hospital supplies, the doctor's offices, different mix that will actually support a downtown. So we don't want to be hodgepodge at what we welcome in. We really want to go out and say, this is what Mountlake Terrace needs, and this is what we want. We want to have control of our destiny because, Mountlake Terrace, we had an arsonist come in the late 90s, and we lost most of our downtown. And so that was one area we could rebuild. And when I was growing up in Mountlake Terrace, we had grocery stores downtown. Of course, we had the pavilion with the big scoop ice cream that all the neighbors would go and gather. So I remember a really happy, festive, good economy when I was growing up in our downtown. But after the arsonist came in, we really didn't have a good plan on how to rebuild our downtown. And so now we're kind of like that phoenix coming out of the ashes and saying, hey, we can build our own downtown according to what our citizens want. And we're actually moving in that right direction. And I think, well, actually, I know a lot of people have been saying how pleased they are with what's going on in the downtown. And so we're getting there. The businesses will come. And the one thing I do know for sure is Mountlake Terrace is all about location. Location, location, location. If you build it, they will come. And we are right off of I-5. We're in between Everett and Seattle. We're getting there, but we want to do it right.
Yeah, and being so close to the transit center and
Oh,
having the light rail coming through, that's going to make a big difference, I'm sure.
Great point, yes.
Yeah, that's great. All of the changes at the Ballinger Park area with the golf course turning into a passive park
Right.
and the planning that's been going in, with the city on that. The council recently reviewed the Ballinger Park Master Plan, and if that is eventually adopted, what funding options should the city pursue for that?
So right now, I have to say that's my favorite project in the whole city. That is going to be our mini Green Lake. I think our residents from all around will be coming down to Ballinger Lake. So we have this huge plan for Ballinger Lake. Can we afford it right now? No, not at all. We cannot afford it at all. So we're looking at a phased approach on how to mitigate that project. But what we have said is a lot of it and most of it will have to come from grant funding. Right now on our Lakeview Trail, we were short on some of the money there because the economy went up and the costs got higher. And so we're going to use some REIT funding. And REIT, as you know, when we sell a business such as Towswood's just recently sold, we have REIT money from there, and that will go to offset to pay for some of that funding that's needed down there right now. As for everything else down there, it's going to have to come in small phases. But however, there is some good news. We have met with some lobbyists. We actually have two lobbyists. We have a federal and local lobbyists who are fantastic for our city, and they're helping us look for grant funding and earmarking to build that park. Because we're right now, we're going to have to ask for money for our city hall, the pavilion and the park, and I just don't have it in me to ask the citizens for all of that. So
That's a lot.
we're going to be very careful and be good stewards of the funding that we have and see what we can get for our money.
Okay, all right. In the area of 220th and 58th Avenue West with the new Brighton School, there's been a four-way
Right.
stop installed, and there's been some discussion about maybe there might be another option that would be better, such as a roundabout or a stoplight. Of course, that probably also costs some money,
Yes.
as we're talking about funding. What might be on the horizon for that, if that's something the council
That
wants to
would
look
be
at?
part of our TIP, our Transportation Improvement Plan.
Right.
And so, I just came around 2 roundabouts to get to Edmonds tonight,
yeah.
and I was checking them out and making sure the traffic was flowing and see how I felt about those. I do know that I would prefer a light. I would absolutely prefer a light there. However, you're absolutely right. It comes to funding. Light is so expensive to put in. You wouldn't think it would cost that much, but with the engineering and everything that goes on with putting a light, it would be an exuberant amount of money. So our next best option is a roundabout. And so I think that is one thing that the city will most likely put in. Right now, it is also costly to put in a roundabout, but it's a less expensive version. You know, of course, you have your stop sign, you know, and then you'd have a roundabout and a light. So we're most likely will go with a roundabout, but we haven't finalized. We're just beginning talks on that. We did talk about that when the Brighton School was announced, but right now there is a 4-way stop, and I have talked to the officers, and they said that that has been functioning fairly well. And so the roundabout would probably be about a year, 2, 3 off from him.
All right. Final question from me is there have been, increasing number of homeless folks who have been
Right.
camping in both public and private areas, especially in some of those greenbelt areas that the
Right.
city has. Is that something that the council has talked about or discussions about maybe what could be done to mitigate some of those
I
problems?
think that's always on our minds. I was driving downtown and noticing the tents and different things, and the first thing people do are like, we can't have that. Well, we do have that. We do have to address that. Last week I was at a summit on homelessness that we had a breakout session with our cities and towns where all the electives get together, and we had a table there, and it just so happens one of the sheriff's deputies, actually who was from Mountlake Terrace, led the conversation, and so we talked about homelessness. And one of the big things, I don't think a lot of people, I'm sure they probably don't want to think about it, but one of the things that is our reality is when we have camps come in, a lot of times we have to call somebody in to clean it, which costs quite a bit. And a lot of times, we don't like what's in there. We don't like what's going on in there. And that's one of the things is, is it homelessness with drug use going in there? We want to keep our children safe. So we're looking at all the different functions that a county can do. We've looked at renting out warehouses for the county and putting in beds. I actually work with somebody who is on the board for Habitat of Humanity. I've talked to him about different things that are going on, and they're doing their best to help people. But it's something that is, the city can only do so much. It's really looking at the county and what we have, looking at housing prices, keeping things affordable. That subject is one of those endless conversations that breaks your heart. I mean, it really does. It's something that we don't want to see it. We don't want to hear about it, but we'd all want to do something about it. But it's, again, all about economics. How can we fund something like this? Where can we go to help people that need help? And so I think the county is doing a good job at looking at how to help us with our homelessness population, because a lot of times you just hear, well, just move them to the next city, just have people move to, these are people, we really have to look at what their needs are, how can we help, because as a community as a whole, we have to work together, so.
Okay. Now, this is your opportunity
Yeah.
to look into the camera and tell voters why they should vote for you, so go
Okay.
ahead.
Great. Well, good evening, everybody. Again, I'm Laura Sonmore, position 6 for the city of Mountlake Terrace. I've been with Mountlake Terrace on the council for 15 years, and the reason I'd like to stay on the council is really to represent you. When you're new to a council, it takes many years to get up and running, and also when somebody promises you that they can do this, this, and this, it's nice that they can do that, but you have to work together as a team. If your council runs efficiently, you're going to get more from your council, you're going to get more ideas flowing, you're going to get more services coming in. It's going to function as a team. And I believe I'm a team player, and I want to support you in the city of Mountlake Terrace. I think the city of Mountlake Terrace is a fabulous community. There's more to come. We're going to build our downtown up. We want to keep that pool there for you and your family. And it's just something that I have extreme passion about, serving you. It's never something that I take for granted, and it's something that I think I could serve you very well, being your council member for the city of Mountlake Terrace.
Laura, thank you so much for
thank
coming
you.
in today. It was great to speak with you, and I wish you the best of luck
Oh,
in your campaign.
thank you very, very much for having me.